camera. Why does that always happen? Where's camera? What's up, YouTube? 1 sec, you're on the wrong camera. Alright, you're on the right camera, YouTube. What's up? What's up, YouTube? How are you guys tonight? I am just getting the stream started. I got some more work to do. Hold on, this camera's up at the wrong angle. Okay, that's good. Let's go back to just me. So tonight we're working on an Acura MDX radio kit, and I wanted to share with you some of the common questions you get about the Acura MDX. Let me just go to YouTube real quick, and I want to share this link with a group. So there's a group on Facebook. I'll show it to you. Let me just copy this real quick. Turn that off to close this. There's a group on Facebook. I'm going to go to computer me. There's a group on Facebook called Second Gen Acura MDX. And in this group, there you're going to find a lot of stuff for audio if you have questions about what other people have done, other audio systems. So Facebook groups are always something cool to join, just because I even learn stuff. Like I get to see cool people's projects and stuff, and help when I have a chance. Alright, I'm just making a post on, I'm trying to make a post. Hey guys, I'm live streaming, answering questions about your Acura MDX audio system. Alright, so we'll see if my post gets approved and if anyone joins it from there. Alright, looks like it got approved. So let's see if we get any people coming from there, but let's go back to just me. So let me just start with some simple, easy things. So here's an aftermarket radio. This is a DMX 4710. Newer radio from Kenwood, solid radio, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, no CD player. It does have USB. It's iDaling Maestro ready, not really that support to you. Sirius XM ready, Bluetooth, CarPlay, Kenwood, solid operating system, solid audio control. Highly recommend that radio. If you have an Acura MDX, no matter the trim, if you're doing a double dim, if you have nav, don't have nav, 2007 to 2013 MDX, it's going to use the same exact dash kit. That's going to be this one right here. I'll get you the part number. Let me go to Just Desk. So that's the 997820B, and they sell one. Let me go back to just me. They sell one that has a pocket, and it's going to be the 99 instead of 95. But you're always going to grab this from Metra. Metra in the past did not have a wiring harness for the 07 to 09 MDX. They did have one. No, they didn't have one at all, because 07 to 13 base model MDX uses the same harness. That's the one we have here. I'm going to show you on the desk. Just give me 1 second. So if I go to the desk, this is it right here. This is what the connector looks like. Then the other connector looks like this. And this is what's responsible for sound and power in your MDX. These we made available, we brought to market 2 years ago, almost 2 or 3 years ago. Acura Audio Garage or Mobile Max Car Audio. I'll show you our website real quick. So let me just go to the just computer. So here's our website. Here's our listing for the DIY combo. We also have a complete plug and play package. So if I go to harnesses, PNP wired harnesses, I scroll down, here's the MDX kit, and there's some reviews here, but if you actually scroll down to the reviews, go into the review section, you'll find more reviews from Trustpilot. These are all like actual, all these are legit reviews. Like someone left a 4-star review, he wasn't happy with, I don't remember what it was. You can go read the reviews. But solid kit, it works very well, plug and play. We also now have it available if your car has navigation. The price goes up because different parts are needed. I'll cover that later in the video, but we have it available. I'm just going to go back to the DIY real quick, because the reason why I'm mentioning this is I would appreciate it if you support our small business. If you can't, don't want to, don't care, I still want to be able to try and help you, so that's when we're going to bring Metro. Metro launched their version of the harness last year, at the end of last year, and this is it. This is a listing on Amazon that you can get for pretty cheap, $109. Ours is $99 plus I think $9 shipping, so you're going to come out to the same price. Their harness is very similar to ours, and this guy's selling you the antenna adapter. Just the harness though is going to have a different part number. So if we go to Metro Online and we come down, the actual part number for that new harness is this 701732. I don't mind sharing this with you because I'm here to help you first, and then hopefully you'll be like, oh, this guy helped me, I should buy from him. If not, then you don't. It is what it is. But here's the dash kit, so here's the part number we're talking about, and then you're still going to need the antenna adapter as well. So the antenna adapter, where is it? Where is the antenna adapter? Is the 40HD10. Now, if you have navigation, then your connectors do change depending on year. So 07 to 09, these connectors stay the same, but you'll see that this connection gets more pins. So let me go to my desk here. So this connection gets more pins. You see this says ELS MDX, and there are extra pins here that are missing from this harness. So here they are the exact same way, but this has extra wires that this one doesn't have because it's for a base model. This is for one with, wow, I can't believe I never moved my mic that whole time, man. You probably couldn't even hear me that well, but it is what it is. This is the one with, for the ELS system, 07 to 09. When you have a 2010 to 2013 MDX and you have navigation, the connector switches to this being the primary connector instead. So we have all that information figured out. If you're looking to install an aftermarket radio in your MDX, we can definitely help you either way. If not, you can use, if you're like familiar with this stuff, you could use the Metro part numbers I just showed you and get it done yourself. If you need some guidance, have some questions, or just want a plug and play installation without you having to figure out what to do, then check out our website. The DIY combo is going to come with the necessary instructions to make this plug and play for you. Then here on my desk, I also have some other things that I want to show you about your MDX. So we have the speaker spacers for your MDX. Let me go back to just me. These are to replace the factory speakers. So I'll show you the factory speaker. We have a video on this if you're interested on YouTube. I'll show you the factory speakers real quick on the computer. So I'm going to go just computer, and then let me go to eBay. Actually, I'll just Google it. 2007 Acura MDX. I put 2007, 2007 Acura MDX factory speaker. And just bear with me. I know I'm not the best at using a computer here. Okay, so you see these are out of the bracket. We want them in the bracket. This is like a complete speaker set. This is a good one. So these are the speaker spacers or speaker brackets that come with the MDX. Let me get to a picture that actually shows them. Here we go. Those are them upside down. There's no picture of them closer upside up. No. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in on this picture. So you can see that the speaker has 3 screws, and then it's mounted on a bracket like this. So this bracket replaces the bracket and gives you 4 screw locations, so you can install. Hold on, you're not even seeing what I'm talking about. Let me switch back to OBS and go to Adjust Me. So this bracket is very similar to the factory. It's going to mount the same way. It's going to come with installation hardware so that you can mount it in the door and screw it in, and then your speaker screws into it. And it just allows you to have an easier install and install a bigger speaker. You can use the factory bracket. We've used it in our video and kind of like put screws at an angle and make it work. So you don't need to buy those, but if you do want to do a bigger speaker, or you want to make your life easier because you don't want to drill out an angle, whatever it turns out to be, those are available. They're listed on our website. Let me show you that real quick. So go to computer again, and then we're going to go to shop, speakers, speaker accessories. And we're going to come down to right here, Acura MDX and RL Honda Odyssey door speaker spacers. So like this says, these will fit the Acura MDX on all the doors. They'll fit the Acura RL on the rear door. And they'll fit your Honda Odyssey from 2005 to 2010 on your front doors. They all have that same similar speaker setup. So if you want to install a speaker with a bigger magnet, you definitely have the chance with these. But that's going to cover those. Then the other thing I want to talk to you is about the 9-inch screen. So let me go back to just me. So the 9-inch screen, super popular now for the MDX. This is a 9-inch screen. It's just mounted on something different. These 9-inch screens are sold separately. So you can buy this on Amazon and then buy the frame separate and put one together yourself, or you could just buy this on AliExpress. So let me just open that up because that's going to be super important for people as well. One sec. Come on, buddy. Acura MDX Android. So these you can make pretty cheap. You can find pretty cheap online when you get like the cheapest model available. So let me go back to OBS and I'll show you real quick. So just computer. Oh, what the? Oh, I thought OBS crashed. No, okay, just computer. So here it is. This is the radio and frame together in a wiring harness. They say that this only works on the ones without the hard drive. Why is this picture not opening up? Okay, so one of the big things about this is you can see this is a 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. This is fine for something where you just want CarPlay, but if you want to run apps or do something further, I recommend the 4 gigabyte model. But ultimately it's just going to be this and a 9-inch screen. So I'll show you. This right here is the actual frame. So this replaces the factory display. This gets screwed down with 2 bolts here on the side, and then you have a top trim you need to replace. And these are the 9-inch screens. These are available all over the place, but you do want to buy it in a package if you have the MDX 07 to 09. If you have a 10 to 13, then let me go back to, sorry. Okay. So if you have 07 to 09, what I showed you on AliExpress is fine to buy. It'll all work. There are some settings you need to tweak to get the audio right. If you want to keep the factory backup camera, we have the harness for that. I'll show you that in a second. But those are 07 to 09. I feel like you can do it. Just pull the trigger. If you're thinking about it, just do it. Your factory navigation does not need to work in order for you to be able to replace that. The other thing is on your 10, 11, 12, 13, they say it's not compatible, and it's not with the harness they send you. We can make you a new harness that will make installation plug and play, but you will have to buy yourself an additional RCA wire to make it all possible. And we have a video coming out on that, hopefully end of this month if that guy shows up when he said he will. But we're going to film a video on a 2011 where he wants to install a 9-inch screen. But that's going to cover the 9-inch screen, which I know is another super common question. People are always interested. It is possible you can do it. The other question I get about the 9-inch screen is, if I don't have navigation, can I add the 9-inch screen? And the answer is yes, but it's going to be something kind of custom you're going to have to come up with. So you're going to have to get the top clip-on piece that has the center speaker in it, that bezel, from a navigation model, and it'll clip right into your base model. And then you'll buy this screen, and then some of the connections aren't going to line up. So then you're going to have to figure out where to get power, and that's the only thing. If you're really interested in that, send us a message. We'll see what we can dig up to help you. But it's rare that people do that. If you have a base model, I recommend just a traditional double DIN. It'll make your life a lot easier. I know it sits lower, it's kind of out of the way, but you're not really looking at your radio 24/7. You're listening to it, and when you need to interact with it, it'll be there. So I think if you have a base model, traditional double DIN works perfect. If you have a tech package or a car that has factory navigation, we also have the complete plug-and-play kit for a car with navigation. That's going to add, though, that you will need the the ELS amplifier interface, which is this little black box, and the knob to control the volume on the factory amplifier. So those are two things that you will need to add to make this work with a tech package, and we have the plug and play kit available. I showed it to you. The other thing I want to show you is the backup camera harness. So let me go back to the computer, go just computer and me, and go back to our website. So if you're on our website, you hit shop, you come down to cameras, and then you come down to 2007, 2008, 2009 TL MDX factory backup camera retention harness. This is the harness to keep the factory backup camera on a new aftermarket radio, including the 9-inch screen. When you keep it on the 9-inch screen, you need to change the setting for the camera codec or camera reverse camera video format from AHD to NTSC or CVVS, so that the camera doesn't look really wonky. It will show up, but it'll look crazy, and you have to change that setting. It's going to be buried in the settings of this thing somewhere. So just keep that in mind if you do pick up this, that you're going to need to switch those settings. And then if you have a 2008, if you have a 2010 to 2013, and you're wondering how to get the harness that we said is available in the video, or I said it was available earlier, is you're going to come into this listing, which says 2009 to 2013 Acura TL TSX MDX factory backup camera retention harness. And you're going to choose model MDX. You're going to choose year 2012, 2013, whatever it is. And you're going to see that this picture has now changed, and this is the harness that you need. This plugs into the screen, and then this plugs into your radio. This is your backup camera signal, and this is the audio harness. It goes in through the XM, so you will lose XM audio, or you can use the harness that came with the 9-inch screen. But this is the RCAs I was telling you about. You're going to need a pair of RCAs to make it all work. So that's going to cover the 9-inch screen. I think I'm trying. Hold on. What else do I get asked about this? Let me minimize this. Oh, this computer's lagging. One sec, guys. One sec. I am lagging like crazy. Alright, let me close these. Okay, I'm gonna go back to OBS. Just me. So another common question I get about the MDX, the illumination trigger. A lot of people don't hook it up. You don't need to if you don't want to, but you can see that these harness, none of them have an orange wire. That means that there is no illumination trigger immediately behind the radio at the radio harness. You have to tap the climate control harness, and in the video for how to actually install a double DIN, we cover that. So that's another question we get. Oh, I installed some. I did an installation on my own. I have sound, but it's very low. That means you need the amplifier interface. You probably have a tech package, and your factory amplifier is CAN bus controlled, and you're not sending the proper CAN bus command, so it's not getting to full volume. If you only have power, but you have a base model, you probably only have this harness and not this one, and this is why you have no sound. All the sound is on this. From the factory radio to the factory amplifier, it's a low-level signal, so do not make this on your own and then wire speaker wires to that. I've seen videos on YouTube of people doing that. That's not the right way. You're going to fry your factory amplifier. We do have the factory amplifier bypass for the base and the navigation model if you're looking for it. But if you're just trying to install a radio, I recommend keeping the factory amplifier. They don't technically fail on the MDX. It's rare that we see a failure on the amplifier from the MDX. Usually the radio fails and not the amplifier, so I recommend keeping the factory amplifier around to make your installation easier. I covered the backup camera thing. Oh, if you have a 2010 to 2013 base model, but you had the factory backup camera in the mirror, you can reroute that image to your new aftermarket radio, but it requires wiretapping. There is no connector or anything. You're going to wiretap wires on the A pillar. You're going to pop the A pillar off. You're going to wiretap some wires there and then run them down to behind the radio. And the camera image is very lousy because it's like on this little tiny screen. So when you send it to the bigger screen, it doesn't look much better. It was calibrated to be on that little screen. So you can see what's behind you, but it's not the greatest. So that's another question. Your HFL 07 to 13 does not do Bluetooth streaming, only does Bluetooth calling. It usually kills your car, so you want to unplug it. It's behind, the center console where you rest your arm. There's a cover in the back that pops off. You can just unclip it, and you can remove the HFL, disconnect it, because it's just going to kill your car. If it does have aux, so if you want to do like Bluetooth aux, you can just hook in an aux cable like the old-fashioned way, or you can get like a Bluetooth aux adapter that like plugs into the cigarette lighter, and then the port plugs into the little Bluetooth device. They're like $10 on Amazon, and you can give yourself Bluetooth that way. If you want like official Bluetooth, there are Grom pieces and pieces from USA Spec that will give you Bluetooth on the factory radio and like allow you to keep the steering wheel controls and see like the Bluetooth radio, the Bluetooth audio information on the radio. So again, that's Grom Audio. USA Spec have those options available. And then if you want CarPlay on the factory screen, so you have factory navigation, you want to add CarPlay to the factory navigation, you do have options as well, so you don't have to change any of the factory equipment. You just plug in a module or interface. Grom has the V-Line, NavTool has a piece, and then AliExpress has a piece. Really with those, they're going to have their own little quirks, and then support is going to be big. So if you're thinking about the AliExpress piece, just know you're not going to have any support. That seller is probably a reseller from someone in China, and you're going to be a language barrier and a time barrier. It's going to make getting support very hard. And if you call us, we're not really going to be able to help you. It's not something we sell. So I recommend going NavTool or Grom Audio because they at least have email support, and I think NavTool has call support, so you can call them and try to get issues troubleshooted. I think that's really what it's going to come down to. So a Bluetooth adapter on the aux, and that usually is enough for someone. If you feel like that audio quality is bad but you don't want to change the radio, don't want to do anything to your factory system, Grom Audio or USA Spec has the Bluetooth pieces that integrate better, but they're more expensive. So we went from like $10-15 to now like $150. Now if you want CarPlay and just CarPlay and you want it on the factory screen or an aftermarket on the factory screen, then AliExpress, Grom, or NavTool. They tend to get too pricey when you go NavTool or Grom, people feel like. So you can go 9-inch screen. That's when you jump up. So now you went $150 just Bluetooth. Now you want CarPlay. CarPlay interface is going to be like $500. You can get one of these for around $250. Then you're like, you know what? No, I want completely aftermarket audio. You have a base model. We have a radio package that has that's $300 that will work. It'll have CarPlay. If you have a tech package, then you're going to bring your price up to around $600 if you want aftermarket radio. So it's going to break down to how much money you're really trying to spend and what upgrade you're trying to do. Also, backup camera upgrade we do have available. Hold on, let me show you those two things because I'm just rambling at this point. So there's a lot of products for your MDX, and I've never made a video to properly showcase them all. So let me get out of here. Let me go to shop cameras. Let me go down to the plug and play camera upgrade. So this is what I was talking about. This will allow you to install a new camera on the factory screen. So if you want to, if your backup camera, this is super common in the MDX. We have a video on this. Let me go back to OBS. Let me go back to just me. So super common on the MDX, your backup camera is super hazy. It looks like garbage or maybe it doesn't work. We have the connector and the camera in one package that will help you upgrade the factory backup camera. No running any wires. It's all plug and play. You just have to secure one wire to ground. That's available on our website. I'm showing it to you right now. That's this thing right here. Then before that, I said something else. I was talking about the amplifier bypasses. So if you have the tech package, the amp bypass you want is this one. It's an integration harness, but you can just cut it in half and then just use one side as your amp bypass. If you want to add amps to the factory radio, we have a video on that. You're going to use that same harness if you have the tech. If you have a bass, we have a complete amplifier bypass. Where is that? One sec. Right here. That's this guy. It comes with two connectors. One is the output signal from the factory radio. The other is the wires to all the speakers. So that's available as well. Talked about the 9-inch screen. I said the backup camera. Talked about Grom. I'll show you Grom real quick. So Grom Audio, that's them. Here you'll throw in your car. It'll help you find stuff. The other one's NavTool. I think the NavTool website is the one that's like super. Yeah, like I do not like their website because it's like so much going on, and then you get a pop-up and you get this pop-up. I hate that. I hate that so much when it comes to experiences online. But that's the other website. Then I showed you AliExpress. We talked about the backup camera. Go on Amazon. I'll just show you a Bluetooth adapter. Bluetooth aux. So one of these guys, there's probably a cheaper one. Look, this one's $8. So like, this plugs into the aux port, and then on the other side it has like a USB charger. Here on this back side it has a USB charger. The only thing with these is like if you have it plugged in and you're listening to music and it's charging while you're listening to music, like if you have it plugged into power and you have it plugged into the aux port, so you have it plugged into power, you have it plugged into the aux, it's gonna make noise. Sometimes you'll hear like either like thumping of it charging or just a constant hiss, and that's super annoying. Bluetooth, backup camera, Grom audio piece. That's really it, guys. I think install an aftermarket radio, no sound, power, proper way to do things. Make sure you low level signal to the amp, ELS amplifier bypass. You want to install a bunch of amps. You want to install a bunch of amps. You're going to do a huge aftermarket system. All you need is this plug right here if you have a base model, and then you can just run wires to every door. Running wires in the MDX is annoying. They do have connectors in the doors, but I mean, if that's what your end goal is, like I'm sure you'll figure out how to get through those connectors or run new wire into the door. The tweeters, we have the tweeter cup, tweeter harness. I'm really trying to think what else I haven't told you. Obviously, when you replace the radio in the tech package, the navigation no longer works. That top screen does not work. It does not show anything. Actually, it shows the backup camera. So that top screen will be black, but then when you put it in reverse, it will still show the backup camera. You don't have to reroute it if you don't want to. That's on your tech package. Oh, your steering wheel controls. So your steering wheel controls, volume up, volume down, previous, next, and mode will work on the plug-and-play radio kits. If you want to make them work on these things, the 9-inch Android screens, you have to manually map them. There's an app called SWC. You go in, you hit the screen, you hit volume up on the screen. It's like a little icon. Then you hit volume up on the steering wheel, and that's how you program each one. I'll walk you through programming each one. The call buttons can be retained, but it requires additional wiretapping at the HFL. The navigation buttons can be retained, but it requires additional wiretapping above the shroud of the steering wheel. Sorry, I'm just trying to get all this information out to you. There's a lot of stuff that we've learned about the MDX. Rear peeler speakers are 3.5. The sub, we did a whole video on for the sub. I think that's it, guys. I think that's what else. That's going to cover all of it. Now, I'm going to get started with the wiring for this radio, so let me put some of this stuff away. When I open or close my door, my subwoofers make a deep noise. What did I do wrong in the wiring? What car are we talking about? It sounds like ANC is kicking on. So if it's a TL, you have to disconnect ANC. If it's an MDX, it has ANC. If it's a... Yeah, what car? Most likely it's going to be ANC, and it's going to be a different spot. I need to know which car to tell you how to disconnect it. Sorry, I didn't see that question until now. But alright, so now what I'm going to do, YouTube, is I'm going to show you with our DIY combo, the shop, harnesses, DIY stuff. Oh. So our DIY combo is right here. Let me go to OBS and switch to Computer and Me. So this is our DIY combo. This is super popular. You can see it has good reviews. I think it has even more reviews from Trustpilot. Yeah, it has 14 reviews from Trustpilot. So it's like 30 reviews here. Solid product. It's these three harnesses right here. They make installation super easy. So let me go to just the desk real quick. So just desk. So these are the harnesses right here. And I'm going to show you how to wire this to the aftermarket radio. So if you want to do a traditional aftermarket radio, you have a base model MDX from 2007 to 2013. I'm going to show you how to do the wiring because I think we have a video, but it's pretty old. But I'm going to show you real quick on film here. So these are 3 harnesses. They're going to come in this nice little baggie. And then in the back of the bag, it has what each one is. Hold on, let me bring it a little forward there. Okay. Not too much. There we go. So this will have what they are. Then we need to get the harness out of the radio. Come on, bro. I'm like ripping this box. This is the one thing I hate about these little white boxes that they package this in. Okay, and then in here you have your mic and your message about your mic. So this is specific to this radio. I don't need to show you that. It's just, hey, which mic do you want to use? What we care about is this harness right here, and then this connector here. And then we're just going to take these manuals out, put them back in here, and then take this right here, which is our release. Come on. Put that all back in there. Put this all back in the box. Cool. So we got our harness. Now we need our other harness. One sec. So this is the Metra AX, sorry, it's real here, AXSWC. This is the steering wheel control wires. I actually have one right here for that one. So this is what they look like. I'm going to put that right there, and let me go to Just Desk. Alright, so we have our collection of wiring here that we need to prepare and get ready to install our harness with. So we talked about the 3 harnesses that came with the DIY combo. Then we have the harness that came with the radio. Then we have the harness from the AXWC. So all of these are going to require some prepping. And what I mean by prepping is just getting rid of wires that will make our installation a little bit more annoying or a little bit more involved than we wanted to. Yes, we do ship to Mexico. I'm not sure if the website currently is supporting addresses to Mexico. Like, they're doing some changes to how we calculate shipping costs. So they had to turn off international shipping. But I know Canada shipping is still active. I don't know if Mexico shipping is active or not, but I will double check. We are in Florida. We moved to Florida last year. Currently, I am working out of the house that we rented in Florida. When we first moved down here, we had a little warehouse, but we weren't allowed to do installs. So now I am signing a new lease for a new location, but it's not ready yet. It's like new construction thing. It's going to be in Sanford, but it's not ready. Hopefully it'll be ready by the end of next month. But right now we are in Florida, sir. We are shipping and working, but yeah, we're not doing installations at this time. Right, so our AXWC harness, sorry I was answering questions, I did not show you what I did, but basically all I did was pull out the wires we're not going to use. So we are only going to use the red wire, the black wire, that's power, that's ground, and the gray red wire. The gray red wire is the steering wheel control connection that's going to go to the steering wheel connection here. Red is power, black is ground. Now that's ready, we got to prep this harness right here, and they always make the wire some reason the ground wire always extra long. This is only necessary in Nissans because Nissans don't have a factory ground, so an extra ground wire that's extra long helps. But in your Acura, this does not need to be this long, so we're going to cut it down. We're also going to ground our parking brake, so I'm going to cut this off because I'm going to ground this for the customer so they don't have to do any wiring at all. Which, when I cut that short, it makes all my other wires short, so I have to shorten all of them. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm not going to shorten any of the speaker wires because none of those will be used, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in a second. Let me just shorten these first. Okay, let me get rid of the zip tie. So earlier I said that your car has a low level signal that's going to be carried by these RCAs. This is the same. We're duplicating the low level signal that comes from the factory radio to the factory amp. With these RCAs, we're sending a low level signal, usually max of 4 volts. On this radio, it's 2.5. Because we're sending our audio signal via these RCAs, we are not going to send any audio via these speaker wires. So I'm going to remove these speaker wires because sometimes when you leave them on, you'll get someone. Hold on, let me just go to desk of me. You'll get someone. I'll leave this in. I'll leave them outside the tape, or I'll leave them in the tape. Somebody will ask, "Hey, I undid the tape, and there were these wires that weren't connected. Were they supposed to be connected?" I've actually gotten a bad review for someone who, like, I guess must have done radios in the past and figured we made the connections wrong, and he had no audio, so he didn't reach out to us. He just assumed we did something wrong. And then we finally got a hold of him. I'm like, "Hey, did you plug the RCAs in?" "No." "What are those for?" "The RCAs are how sound gets carried. That's why your speaker wires aren't hooked up." And then we had a whole conversation. He understood, but never updated his review. So now, just to save people, there's certain people out there who will just ask, or will go further and look themselves, and they'll confuse themselves. I just remove wires that are not being used, just to make it simple and for people to understand that this is a finished product and this is how it should be. These wires just get removed. And in this case, I use this depinning tool, and I go through the front, push the little tab down, pull the wire out the back. And I do that for all the speaker wires and all the wires I'm not going to use. I'm thinking about getting a JBL speaker upgrade for the TL. Do it, man. Solid upgrade. It's in my car right now. I have a 3rd generation Acura TL 2004. I just did the video with the 9-inch screen. I have JBL speakers in the front. I have the plug-and-play amp, and I love it. Think you can't go wrong with JBL. And they're available and in stock, ready to ship. The tweeter harnesses are running out, though, so if you are thinking about it and you're going to do it later in the month, you might be put on back order, because we have the shipment of the tweeter harnesses coming, but there's only like 5 left. So there's gonna be an overlap where I think we're going to be short for a week or so. So it's not the longest back order, but they're definitely running out. I just did inventory earlier today. I was like, damn, there's only 5 left. But alright, so now I took all these wires out because I'm not going to need any of those. I'm also not going to connect my reverse wire. This is if someone's going to do a backup camera, but I'm not going to unpin this because this is necessary if they they decide to do a backup camera. Then this is only specific to a Kenwood. The Kenwood has a blue-yellow wire that says remote cont or steering wheel control input. This wire, when you have the AXWC like we do, so when you have the AXWC, sorry, I always forget that you can see the same way. So when you have the AXWC and you're going to keep the steering wheel controls, this is if you want to keep your steering wheel controls, you're going to take this wire that came out of the AXWC, and we have to connect solid brown to blue yellow. So this has a brown white and a solid brown. Brown white does not get hooked up. Blue yellow gets hooked up to brown. Only it looks crazy if I like put it this long and connect it. So what I like to do is I like to slide this sticker down. So if we have a question later on, we can ask a customer. Sometimes it's really like not wanting to slide. So yeah, so if something comes up, steering wheel controls aren't working, we'd like to verify with the customer, so we want this label to still be here, but we don't want this wire to be this long. and we don't want this wire to be this long, so we just cut them both down. And then I cut the brown white a little shorter because I like to solder these, so sometimes I find that when I solder it'll leak. If they're the same length, it'll leak into it, so I don't like doing that. So now it looks like it's only one wire when it's two, but the other one's going to be hidden, and I'm going to just connect this one wire real quick. So again, brown to blue yellow. If you have a Kenwood only, and if you're using the AXWC. Yo, what's up? What's up? So now I'm just gonna solder that real quick. Where is the solder? If I can find it. It was up there. No, it's not here. It's not. Yes. So again, this is only if you have a Kenwood, only if you're using the AXWC. I'm going to assume you are, and I'm going to assume Kenwood radios are pretty popular, so there's a good chance you're going to need to do this. If you have a Pioneer or Sony, you don't need to do this, but for your Kenwood, you will. Alright, so that is ready to go. I'm just going to hit it with some heat so that it's done and out of our way, and so I can talk about it a little bit more. Alright, so our connection is made. You can see there's two wires still here, but only one's connected under the heat shrink, and it looks like it's one wire. The reason why this is important, it needs to look like it's one wire, because when the brown wire sticks out, it confuses people and they think that some connection is not terminated correctly. So this is super important. It needs to stay and look like this so it looks completely finished. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to keep it, you know. I'm showing you behind the scenes how it's done, so you can see that what we try to do to make sure that your installation goes as smooth as possible. But all right, so now we have a bunch of other wires that we need to connect, but I'm going to take this step by step because it's something I want you to be able to follow. We're going to go green, this light green, to black. Now normally you need a parking bypass, so let me just go back to me real quick. Computer, that's gonna be normally, nah, just me. Normally you need a parking bypass for green and black. In this case, for the 4710S, so 40, can you see that? 4710S, this radio does not need a parking bypass. I've done the test. Maybe for video in motion you might, but to access the menus that get locked behind the parking brake wire, you can just do it with ground and the parking brake. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to connect ground to the parking brake. I'm going to go back to just desk. Damn, Mint Motors with the $5 dono. Thank you, sir. Yes, this is the first super ever on live stream. How do I don't even know how to celebrate, man. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. I'm happy you like the harness, and if you think about the speakers, man, do it. And I really, really appreciate the dono. Not because it's like, not because you're giving me money, but the meaning behind it. Because I know you appreciate what we're doing, and you're the first one to ever do it on any of the live streams, I think. Or no, you're the first one, man. So congratulations to you, and thank you very much. Let me go back to you. So thank you very much, and congratulations for being the first one to ever do it, and I appreciate that a lot. I truly mean that. This is a very small business. I'm literally working out of my garage, and it's we don't have a huge staff, so I truly, truly appreciate that. Okay, so now we're going green to black, and you can see I split it, so I have it split like that, and there's a reason for that. I'll show it to you later on. If you're following me, just do the same thing. You're gonna twist a little black and a little green together, and you're just gonna leave them like that. It's just to make your life easier. So then we're gonna strip yellow because we're gonna connect yellow. We're gonna strip red because we're gonna connect red. We're gonna strip orange. This is a caveat to your MDX. If you're going to hook up illumination, you're going to have to do a wire tap. So just me. So this wire, you're gonna have to wire tap. I'm gonna make it longer. I'm gonna show you what to wire tap on video. But for your MDX, if you don't plan on doing the wire tapping, just leave this as it is and leave it in the tape. But we are gonna wire tap, so we made that wire longer. And then the blue white we're also going to use, so we're gonna strip. So that means that we're only left with this purple white that is not going to be hooked up to anything. Remember, I took all the speaker wires out, so this is what my harness looks like, and now it's ready to be thrown in the mix. Now we need to prep the harnesses that we got from us. Our Kenwood only has one blue wire, so our harnesses have 2 blue wires. In this case, there's 2 methods you can use here. You can go blue-white, so this main plug has a blue-white, and you can hook that up to the blue-white. So you go 1 for 1. Then you can take your antenna booster and hook it up to the red. This is super uncommon, but it is a practice that is practiced in the field where your antenna automatically turns on when you turn the car on, and you can duplicate that functionality. That's one way. That's not the way I'm going to do it. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to combine my blue wires, and I'm going to send them. Damn, I'm... Yo, what? Chill, man. Chill. You're going to make a brother cry, man. Chill, man. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I really do. That's lunch money right there. Solid $10 at the deli lunch money. I appreciate that. If there's anything I could do for you, man, let me know. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them for you. If you need some diagrams or whatever you need, man, I really appreciate that, and I will always try to give back. I have a 17. So shout out to you, Mint Motors, man. I go leave a good review for you right now. Whatever you want me to do, man. Always willing to give back. I know it's off topic, but I have a 17 ILX and the rear deck lid has that annoying rattle whenever I add a little extra bass and volume. Any suggestion how to stop it? Yes. Take a towel. No, I'm just kidding. That's a fix though. You'll find in the forums. It's like you take a towel and you shove it down back there. Like hold on. What can I do with this? Put user in timeout. Why would I ever want to do that? What the freak? I can't like this one. Oh, I guess it's different than the other one. Oh, I can reply to this directly? How? Oh, the time to reply has expired. Sorry, man. I don't know how to use YouTube 100%. And like I told you, this is the first super chat ever, so I'm still trying to learn how to use it. Okay. But I really, really do appreciate it, Mint Motors, man. Thank you so much. I don't know what else to say, man. I don't stream for people to like give me money. Like this isn't like a freaking what's it called, Twitch session for me. I'm doing this because there's a lot of information I know and I want to share it. I want people to learn, and I do want the company to grow. I do want people to buy the items, but I'm not here looking for money. But I really do appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. But all right, let me answer this guy's question. So he wants to stop his rattle. There's something called sound deadening. Let me go. I'm just gonna grab one quickly. I really ran out. So look, there's this stuff called sound deadening. It's this weird combination of aluminum and like this rubbery, I forget what it's called, polyurethane. But I'm gonna try to get it best on camera, real quick. 1 sec. Let me go to desk. So this is what it looks like, right? So it's like shiny, and this is aluminum, so this will cut you very easy. But then the back is sticky. This, when you put it on metal, so you hear that rattle, like behind that metal. When you put it on metal or other materials, it absorbs it. So let me go to just me. So I have it right here. I have it stuck to this, and it helps reduce rattle. That's sound deadening. This is made by Ballistic. You do have to roll it on with a roller to get the best performance. So this, you stick it on something, and then you start rolling it and really apply pressure. This stuff, when applied to the rear deck metal, will help reduce that rattle, but removing everything to get there is super annoying. Like, to remove all the covers, some of the back seat, and then pop the cover off to get to the sub, to then apply this stuff, it just takes so much time and effort. And I don't know if you want to get involved with all that. So that's where the whole towel trick came out, is that you can take a towel, you can go in the back and just start shoving it in with your hands, and then taking a pry tool and using a pry tool to shove it more down. And while I don't recommend a towel, there is padding material that is sold for sound deadening purposes that you can use. So let me show you that real quick on the screen. So on the screen, on this computer. Okay, so sound deadening foam. So there's material that, instead of like the metal squishy stuff, is more like foam, and you can use that to stop the rattle. The real fix, you can even, hold on, Home Depot ceiling foam gasket. Like, you could go to Home Depot tomorrow and buy this and use this to seal up the rattle, because basically what's causing the rattle is there's some free gap back there, that when the bass starts going, it moves that gap, and then it moves the panels between that gap, and that's what's generating the noise. So if you want to get rid of it, just some foam. The real solution is sound deadening applied to the rear deck and applied to that panel, but that's like half your Saturday. It's not really expensive. That stuff you can find on Amazon pretty cheap. Amazon Basics has their own brand, so it's not that expensive, but it is just time consuming. So the whole towel thing, that's where it came from, because you don't want to spend that time. Or you can just use some gasket foam and make it work that way. But all right, let me go back to the harnesses, because that's what we're talking about. All right, so back to the harness. So we're almost done prepping. Now we can start combining. So the other thing is, I said we were combining our blues to go to this one blue. I'll show you that in a second. But we're combining our blues. So both blue and blue-white from the antenna and from this plug. The gray plug, 32 pins, this antenna. Both blues go together, and they go to the blue of your aftermarket radio. If you do have an aftermarket radio that has separate blues, like some Kenwoods have 2 blue wires. Boss has 2 blue wires. Dual has 2 blue wires. We'll have a blue-white and a solid blue. If your radio has a blue-white and a solid blue, you just color match the right wire to the right wire. So the blue with the white stripe goes to the blue with the white stripe. Solid blue goes to solid blue. If you only have one blue-white, or if you only have one solid blue, then you combine all the blues together like we have here. Then we have 2 wires here. This is the steering wheel control wire. It is gray with a black stripe. So you can see that's gray. If I turn it, you'll see the black stripe. So gray with the black stripe has to go to ground, and then gray is your steering wheel control wire. So the AXWC harness that we prepped before, I told you, has those 3 wires. Here we're going to connect 2 of them. We're going to connect gray red to gray, solid gray. and then we're going to connect gray black to this black wire. Then we have a red to connect, and our blacks aren't actually grounded, they're just connected together. So that's when this harness comes in. This is going to give us a red that's going to get hooked up to this red. So the AXWC red wire goes to this red wire. So now you have two red wires together on this side. And now this is super tricky and very hard for the average DIYer who has not done a lot of radio installs to understand. This is the actual ground. This right here. So let me go back to just desk me. This right here that you see on the screen, on both screens, this black wire is the actual ground wire. Hold on, let me just go to just me because I want to make a point. This is the actual ground wire. So this wire, when connected to the factory harness, actually leads to metal somewhere in the car. These two black wires that are right here, or this gray and gray black wire, aren't actually connected to ground. They are just connected together. In order to ground them, we need to connect them to this third ground. So you're going to have gray, black, black, and the thicker black all together as one. So that's three black wires together. And this is where you're going to fork them. So remember how I told you to fork the wires earlier with the green and green black? This is why, because this is the matching side that they're going to fork to. And the reason why I say to fork them is because it makes it easier when you go to twist them together. But more on that in a second. The last thing we need to do is just strip our yellow wire, which is going to leave us ready to connect our harnesses. So now this is the car side harnesses. We have three connectors that are going to connect to the factory wiring connections. Power, ground, accessory. Constant power is yellow, accessory is red, ground is black. Here we have all our audio signals through our RCAs. So think of this for every single speaker: front left, front right, rear left, sub. These are all our speakers. The center channel is not retained. Ooh, I should have said that. Base model center channel is not retained when you install an aftermarket radio. Base model 07 to 13. You're not even going to notice. If I did not mention and you bought it and you install this, you would have not noticed, because the car is going to get louder. You're going to feel the sound more. You would not have noticed. If you have a tech package, you get to keep the center speaker. On your base model is the only one where you lose it. So back to the desk. So now three connections to the car. This is the connection for the AXWC. This is going to hook up into that port that we made earlier with the brown wire, which is this right here, this connection. But one step at a time, one step at a time. So now we're going to start connecting wires together. And this is where I'm going to lose some people, so I'm going to try to go slow to make sure that I do this in a manner that can easily be captured on camera and that is not too fast. So these are the connectors we just prepped. This is the harness from the radio that we prepped earlier. Now, before I move forward, I do use heat shrink to make my connections. And these are these strips, these black strips you see, that's called heat shrink. It's like this rubberized plastic that when you apply heat, it shrinks. Now, you don't have to use this method. You don't have to use this method. You can use crimp caps. So you could take these crimp caps right here, twist the wire together, and then crimp it. Do not do this only, where you're gonna take the red and the red, you're gonna twist them together like this, right? And then you're just going to add electrical tape. Don't do the connection that way because it will not last. Eventually it will give you a problem. I know you can like super twist it and make it work, but just if you're gonna twist together and not solder, use crimp caps. They'll work the best. I also don't like Sorry. Just me. I also don't like the straight butt connectors where you crimp on both sides, because you're doing double the work with double crimping and you can't see exactly where you're crimping, and sometimes you strip too much wire. So I recommend the crimp caps instead. The way the crimp caps work is you're just going to twist your wires together, you slide the cap over it, you press down, and then you crimp the actual cap. Like you just press right here, you'll see the metal sleeve. I don't know if you can kind of see it on video here. You'll see the metal sleeve in there. You press on it and then it crimps the wire and it doesn't come off. But that's not what we're doing, so let me go back to what we're doing. I'm going to sleeve this all together, and the sleeving is just to avoid adding electrical tape later. So I'm going to slide this over this one. I'm going to slide, hold on, I need to cut some of these. Heat shrink comes in different sizes and there are different variations. Some have glue, other ones don't. Some are double walled or triple walled. It's just the amount that they'll shrink or how tight the heat shrink will wrap itself once it does shrink. So this is triple walled heat shrink, the one I'm sliding on now. I do have double walled and I use that for less important connections. So now all my wires are sleeved. Let's start connecting wires, and we're going to go one by one. So blue white is what's going to trip a lot of people up, so let's start there. Blue white, it says antenna cont, and then the other side says P cont. P cont is power continuity and cont is antenna connect continuity. Those are both here. So blue white and solid blue on this side are together. They go to this one blue. So you have two blues, so there's two separate wires that are twisted together to one blue white. If this was solid blue, if it was only one blue, you would still connect it. It would just be, as long as you don't have two blues on one side and two blues on the other side, you end up with 2 to 1 every time. So one blue here, two blues on this side. We're gonna solder this. That connection is now all set. Soldering melts metal onto the metal strands. Once it cools down, the metal is bonded together and it's almost like impossible to pull apart. I can apply a crazy force and pull that apart, but there's nothing that will just make this connection come loose from average use. So now we're going to take our blacks, because this trips people up too. Remember, this has 3 blacks, or 2 blacks and a gray black. This has green and black. And it's forked so that they're easier to twist together. You kind of like scissor them in, and then you twist one over the other, and you end up with that right there. This is hotter. What am I saying? This is harder to solder because it takes more time to penetrate. But when you're soldering, you also don't want to soak it where it gets super hard, where it has no flexibility. You just want it to penetrate, and that's it. Because the last thing you want is to have no flexibility in the wire, where like one little twist ends up breaking it. So you do want it to be somewhat flexible, and that's good. Alright, so now remember, our gray went to gray red. That's the only way it gets connected. It doesn't get a connection across this way. So it's just connected to itself like this on this side. Excuse me. So we can solder it and it doesn't get connected to anything else. So now that's good. Now we just have to color match. So those were the really tough ones. Now we have yellow to yellow. And then we have red to red. Here you have 2 reds to 1 red, but that's perfectly normal for it to be like that. That's how it will be, so be prepared for that. And now we're going to solder those. So yellow gets soldered. And then we have red getting soldered. And that's going to complete the connections if you're not going to hook up your illumination. So remember earlier we talked about illumination, how you're going to have to wire tap. So this we're going to make longer. I know you're going to ask, where do I get extra wire from? And that's where you can grab this wire and use it and make the orange wire longer, but you're gonna have to make this orange wire longer so that it reaches where it needs to. I have orange wire, and that's what I'm gonna use to make it longer. And it should be about this long. Usually I say the length of my arm when I have a shirt on, like that's more than enough. But that's the amount of wire you want, and you're just going to make the orange wire longer. Again, if you don't have orange wire, you can use the green wire that came with your radio or any wire at all, but I need to make sure it's orange for the customer so that they don't get confused with what it's for. And sometimes we add the wire and people don't hook it up, and that's perfectly fine, but it needs to be there in case they do want to hook it up. So now we're gonna solder that wire, and that's good now. Okay, so now all of my connections are made. So let me go back to desk. So all my connections are made, and they're all facing the proper way. So here are the connections that plug into the car. That's these 3 gray connectors. This is for the AXWC. The little black box is going to plug in here. I'll show you that in a second. Then everything here is soldered together, and this is the connector that's going to plug into the radio. So if you order this harness from us and you just get just the harness is going to look very similar to this, except that this last connector right here is going to be specific to your radio. And that's why we're going to reach out and ask you what model it is, because Kenwood, Pioneer, Sony, Jensen, Dual, they all use different connectors from each other. So like this won't plug into a Pioneer, this won't even plug into another Kenwood. They're specific to the certain models. So the newer Kenwoods use this connector. It looks like the old Kenwood connector, so if you're familiar with radios, you're like, that just looks like the 22 pin connector from Kenwood. But it is different. The tabs here at the top are in different locations, and it is pinned completely different than the other Kenwoods. So these are all radio specific, and you want to keep that in mind if you're ordering a harness. Now I'm going to finish this. I'm going to apply zip ties. I'm going to heat the heat shrink to shrink it down, and I'm going to add regular tape and tester tape so that it looks like a finished product. I'm going to walk you through that next. These next steps aren't necessary for you. This is just because this is something we sell. We want it to look professional. We want it to look finished. So that's what these next steps are about. So this next step right here is necessary. We are going to obviously cover the heat shrink so that none of these connections touch each other. Because the last thing you want is for these exposed wires to begin touching each other, because they are going to blow a fuse or blow the radio or the amplifier or a combination of all. If you didn't solder, this is like you wouldn't need to do the step because your crimp caps would have taken care of it. If you twisted and taped together, then add some zip ties to take some of the stress off the tape and make sure it stays down. But okay, so now we're going to take the heat gun, we're going to heat the heat shrink to shrink it down. It is going to get on our labels some, but that's just the price you have to pay. So here's my little heat gun. Cool. So all those are shrunk. What is it? They're all shrunk. Isn't that past tense? They all have been shrank. That's not a right word. Hold on, that's gonna bother me. One sec. Act of shrinking is what? Shrinkage. The sweater shrunk in the wash. Experience significant shrinkage. I guess it's both. This doesn't really give me my answer. I don't know, bro. English is weird. Whatever. moving on. So now that has been done. Now we're going to add a zip tie here. Now you may be thinking, why are you adding a zip tie? It's to release tension on each individual wire. So when you are installing this and you accidentally catch a wire with something, like as you're sliding it in the car behind the radio, or a wire gets caught in between, the wire doesn't pull itself out of this housing. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I thought it was shrunk, but it did not sound right in that moment. Okay, so if I'm now pulling on this orange wire, the zip tie distributes the force among all the wires, so I can't yank this one wire out. Now, it's not going to stop me from yanking it out, but it's just going to apply a little bit of force to save you in the case of where it does get stuck. And it's not a game changer by any means in terms of stopping it, but it does help, and also makes the harness look better, and that's part of the reason. So now the other part is we're going to add some tape. The tape is to make it easier to tape, which sounds ridiculous, but you'll see exactly what I mean in a second. So when I go to add the Tessa tape, all these wires flail around. So by adding the electrical tape in little steps like this, it keeps the wires straight and out of the way so that I can properly tape them all. And again, this isn't something anyone doing this for themselves would have to do. This is just because I want the product to look finished and correct. Alright, so now we're going to add the Tessa tape. This is Tessa tape. It says Tessa on it. It's like this fuzzy material. The Tessa tape does two things. It helps, actually three things. The Tessa tape helps the product look finished. So when you see it fully wrapped in tape, you understand, okay, that harness is done. No wires are exposed. The other thing the Tessa tape does is it protects the wires from any like potential light accidental scratching. So when you're installing, the wires might get tucked behind some metal, and when you pull forward, it might get scraped a little bit, and it might just be enough to show some actual wire through the insulation, and then you'll have like this weird short that you have to find. So that's 2, to protect the wires. 3 is for rattle. So sometimes this exposed wire, when tucked behind the dash, might begin to rattle. Now this isn't going to stop the rattle entirely, but it does help to have a soft surface instead of plastic on plastic. So those are the 3 reasons for the tape. If you need to remove the tape because you're troubleshooting, you're reusing the harness for something else, or you're tapping wires to add amps, etc., the tape is always going to end at the connectors for the car. So I'll show you in a second. It's about to end for me. So the tape's going to end right here. It's going to get looped once more. So like this, you see that? That's sticking up. It's going to get looped and finished. So if you need to undo the tape, it's very annoying to cut or try to remove. So you just start peeling back up here and work your way down as needed. Alright, so now the last thing is this AXWC harness. I hate using the one that they send. We have our own custom one because this wire is stupid long. So now we have a bunch of slack we need to deal with. And that we're just going to zip tie out of the way. So first I'm going to zip tie it here. Now, depending on the radio, this will plug into the back of the radio, but because we have a Kenwood and we added this jack, this ends up plugging into this jack right here, and this is what I'm talking about. I have this extra slack of wire that's not good for anything. If you had a Pioneer, a Sony, or a different radio, this connection would plug directly into the back of the radio. Alpines are the same, except for the 670. The 670, you need to add this... like, you need to treat it like a Kenwood, essentially. But I'm going to take that, take this, cut it down, cut it down, cut it down. Okay, you notice I left this one wire out. This is because if they do want to hook up a backup camera, they don't need to undo any tape. This is the wire that would take the reverse signal, or this gets hooked up. Other way to say this gets hooked up directly to the reverse light or the reverse signal chain circuit in the car. So I leave it exposed, ready for them to connect if they want to do a backup camera. That's the only wire that will be loose. Then on this side is the wire tap. So on the climate control, you will need to run this wire and tap it. Let me get that on the screen for you. One sec. Acura MDX illumination emblem. What the? Illuminated. I really can't use a computer, bro. Illumination. Images. Oh, they released like some, okay, here we go. Here's a picture. Open image, and then you tap. Okay, it's super tiny. That's not going to help anyone. Let's go to the thread. Here it is. Alright, so let me show you on the computer. So just go, just computer me. So here's the illumination trigger. This is the 32-pin harness that plugs into the climate control. When you're replacing the radio, you'll know where this connector is. That light blue wire at the edge is where this orange wire connects. So let me go to me. Go to OBS. So this orange wire right here. This orange wire right here is going to go to that light blue wire. You're going to wire tap it. That's only if you want the headlights to make the radio dim. So when you turn on your headlights, the radio will dim to indicate that you're in night mode. You don't have to make this connection. You can manually change the radio into night mode, or depending on the radio, a lot of Alpines have this. This is why I normally recommend an Alpine for your MDX. The Alpine will have a light sensor, and it won't even have an illumination wire, and it'll auto dim depending on the light with the light sensor. So if you don't want to, if you want auto illumination, you can use an Alpine. If you really don't care for it, you're always going to keep your radio kind of dim or kind of bright, etc. Then you don't have to wire. You don't have to worry about hooking up this wire. But if you do care about that, this wire is right here. It's going to be zip tied. You just cut the zip tie and use it if you want to use it, or leave it like this if you don't want to use it. And this is again 2007 to 2013 base model. If you have the tech package 2010 to 2013, this isn't necessary. If you have the tech package 2007 to 2009, this is still necessary. So now let me go back to the desk. Let me clear this up because we have a mess right now. One sec. Sorry guys, I don't like working with a messy desk. Also, I want to explain the harness, and I don't want to do it with a bunch of distractions in the way. Alright, so go to me. This is a customer order right here. Like someone ordered this, so I'm not gonna open his radio and connect everything for the video. But I do want to show you how it hooks up so that, hold on, what the hell's going on here? Oh, this thing like failed. That's whack. Okay, but I do want to show you. Sorry guys, I'm like trying to get this. Okay, alright, cool. All right, so I'm not gonna open this radio and connect everything to it, but I'm gonna connect this radio. I'm gonna connect everything to the Sony radio so you can see. So I'm gonna go back to the desk. So here's my Sony radio. Here are my connections on the back. If we were connecting it to the Sony, this connector right here would line up and plug into here. This again is for the Kenwood, so it's not gonna plug into the Sony. If it was, this would line up right here. Then we would have these RCAs to match up, and they all are labeled. So this is rear left. On my Sony, my rears are in the middle. So this would go in here. This would go in here. That's rear right. Actually, these are labeled wrong. I hate that this happened. But this says rear left, but this is rear right because it is red. So follow the color, not the label. So rear left is rear, but it should be red, so that goes into there. This is rear. This is rear left. It says rear right, but for the rears, follow the color. If you see that it starts with an R, follow the colors. These are labeled right. You see front left is white and front right is red. So those plug into there. So as long as you color match, you'll be fine. Then the Sony only has one singular sub, so that's this black port right here. So that's gonna plug in to there. So this would have plugged into here. The last connection here is for the steering wheel controls. Again, this is a Kenwood, so this is plugged into this right here. But if it would have plugged into the Sony, it would have gone under WR, which is this blue port. And then this would have connected here, and these would have connected to the car, and you would have had, oh, this goes to the AXWC, the little black box, and then your installation is complete. It's that simple. It's really plug and play. Once you get your stuff, you're not really doing any wiring unless you want to keep that illumination. But that is the, let me go to just me. That is the plug and play harness for an Acura MDX 2007 to 2013 base model. I don't have a tech package order. I do have a TSX tech package order, and the harnesses look similar. So I'll try to do that for you next. It is kind of late. I have to see if the baby woke up or not, if they need me. But let me package this, and then we'll move on and see if I can continue or not. So this is going to come in the bigger bag, and it's going to come with everything plugged in already. So I'm going to grab an AXWC. I'm going to plug it into here. And this customer is not going to have to plug anything in. And it's all going to go in this nice little baggie. And then, where's my dash kit? So, your complete radio kit is going to look like this. Radio, dash kit, and then the harness and the AXWC all in here. We stopped sending these, or try not to send these, because the contents of the box, this will trip people up. They're like, I thought this was plug and play. I have to connect this myself. What's going on? And you don't. But then when you leave the AXWC just in the box by itself, it rattles a lot. And the anxiety in me is like, that's going to cause an issue eventually. So now we don't even send that. We just send it in here. It's all in one box. Well, that was the last AXWC that we used in the previous order, so I don't have one for this customer right now, but they'll be here tomorrow morning, so his order will ship tomorrow. I just don't have it right now to show it to you on video. All right, I'm going to put this box back. I'm going to put this radio back. But alright guys, I hope that answered all your MDX radio questions / audio questions. I know I rambled and talked a lot. I stream every Sunday night guaranteed. Other streams during the week are bonus streams. I'll probably stream twice or 3 times during the week. But Sunday night, from like 10 to 2 I stream. So if you do have questions and you caught this stream late, or you're catching it later in the future, I'm going to continue to stream Sunday nights. I like to get a jump on Mondays on Sunday night. So if you have questions in the future, you can catch me on Sunday night. Right now, I'm going to move on to a customer supplied harness for an Acura TL. So we're off the MDX stuff. I'm gonna keep streaming, obviously, but if you are looking for more MDX content, we have a whole DIY Pro Series video series. So like, there's how to install a radio, how to replace your speakers, rear speakers, dash, tweeters, backup camera, the 9-inch screens. The only thing we don't have videos on are like the Grom and the nav tool pieces, but there are videos online. I would like to get like a full review video for one of those done, but I don't have an MDX anymore, so we'll see. We bought the RDX, but it doesn't have nav. Yeah, none of the cars we find have nav, so that'll probably be a little while before we have a video on that. Off topic, I got my lower double din kit installed, and there's night and a day difference. Your transmitter definitely have to cut it. Oh my man, Andrew, did you also comment on one of the videos that was like, oh, will I need the RCA Y splitter? Was that you or was that a different guy? Let me check my YouTube comments. 1 second. And then you were nervous about the Pioneer, right? Okay, yeah. And then you were nervous about using the Pioneer. Well, the TSX only has 4 RCAs that you need to hook up, so you were good. I just didn't get a chance to answer you. Okay, you ended up running splitters. You're doing subs, I'm guessing. You might want to go higher tier radio. Yeah, I can't talk tonight. Higher tier radio, so you can run your subs. If you have subs, like can tune them all the right way and stuff. Or alright, so there's 2 ways you can hook it up, depending how your subs sound. How do you think it sounds? You think it sounds good? Like, you're not worried about how it sounds? If you're not, I'm not going to trick you up for no reason. But how did you shove that thing in there? Because I know you had to cut, and I know you had to shove it in there with that fat lip on that radio. And I'm trying to think what. Did it all fit together right at the end? Because sometimes that bottom piece slides up just a little bit and then the screws don't want to go in. Yeah, no, I'm saying, are you happy with how it sounds with the factory system and the subs you added? I'll go back to the desk. Desk. Okay. Alright guys, so this wire harness, I'm gonna rant right now. I'm gonna go on a mad rant because this gets me so tight, man. VRCPAA. Oh, you mofo. Because every time I find a good radio... No, that's not. Yes. What was it, 7MW? Nah, that's not what it looked like, bro. That's not what it looked like. Was this what it looked like? I don't even remember, honestly, bro. It was just long ago. Sorry, guys. I'm like, yeah, I think this is what it looked like. No, I honestly don't remember. Is it VRP? VR? Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. Sometimes you just run out of steam in the day, man. I think that's what it looked like. I honestly don't freaking remember what the radio looked like. That definitely was not it. Sorry guys, just bear with me. I'm like looking for something very specific. Alright, let's assume it's the MW, and then CPAA 70D, and then CPAA 70M. Okay. Yeah, man, that when you got a thick radio like that, it's like that. But okay, let me go to the computer. So here's my rant. Ready? This harness right here is for a CPAA 70D. I'm gonna go to the computer. That's, where the hell did it go? That's this radio right here. This radio right here used to have built-in steering wheel control capabilities. So let me go back to me. What that means is, in the past, you didn't need the AXWC or any controller for this radio. You could hook up key 1 and key 2 directly to the resistive wires on your Honda or Acura, and the radio could read the resistive values, and you would need no adapter. So it was like a low-cost way to keep your steering wheel controls and get CarPlay, because all these radios have CarPlay. This is what I found, just digging research, trying to find good deals, trying to put something together. I found this on my own. I found this series of radios. Initially, I found the SoundStream radio. That's this guy. So let me go back to my screen. So initially, I found this guy. This was the first kit we came out with. It was super cheap. It was like $250, and this radio had all the connections necessary to keep your steering wheel controls without the AXWC. So you got a plug-and-play harness, the radio, and a dash kit. It was affordable, and you didn't need the AXWC. You programmed the steering wheel controls within the radio. They switched this radio to need the AXWC. They added this. You see it says SWC, and you see it has the headphone jack. So let me go back to now. I need like shortcuts for this because this is really annoying to have to do it this way. But look, I'll show you on the screen first. So this is it right here. They added this connector instead. Before it used to be key 1 and key 2. So they changed that radio, the SoundStream radio. Then they changed this radio because we were selling this one. This was the 70D. This is the one this has right here. This harness I have right here in front of me is the 70. Let me go just computer. This is the 70D. So they changed this radio to now need the AXWC. So then I'm like, okay, which radio doesn't need it? So then I found this radio, and this is the one we're currently selling. This CPAA 70M. You can get a nice little package for $250 with everything that you need. Plug and play, CarPlay. Has a knob. This is a really good radio. I really do like it. I enjoy selling it. I think it's a good product, even though Power Acoustic, Epsilon, General, whatever. So they changed this radio now to have key 1 and key 2. No, I'm sorry. They didn't change this radio. They discontinued this radio. So I have like 10 left, and then after that, we can't sell it anymore. Then they released the 70MW. Let me pull that up. So this one has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. And guess what? On this one, they also made it so that you need the AXWC one. It doesn't have key 1 and key 2 wires anymore. And I freaking hate that so much. The only reason why these cheap radios sell is because you can keep the cost low because you don't need the AXWC. Now you need it. They keep changing it. For some reason, they'll ship a batch. I imagine their minimum order quantity is more than 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever it happens to be. They'll sell that radio. Eventually, feedback gets back to them. Hey, we need it to hold the SWC or whatever. They change the radio. They don't even tell anyone. I bought a case of, I think they come in 6. So I bought 2 cases. I bought 12 radios. All of them changed, and I can't use them now. So I had to, thank God the distributor took them back. But no one said a word. No manual change, nothing. it was something I had to figure out on my own. So I hate that. I hate they keep doing that for some reason with these radios. They keep changing it every single time they add it, so it needs the AXWC. Because before, these wires used to be key 1 and key 2. They used to be on this little harness right here. And now that's not how it is anymore. So now this customer needs an AXWC1, and he thought he wasn't going to. That's why he chose these radios. But now that he bought them, he got a really good deal on them. So he's like, whatever, I'll pick up the AXWC, just wire it for me. But I hate that so much. It keeps happening. I found that Soundstream radio like a year and a half ago, no more than that, like 3 years ago. I was like riding that radio. I'm like, this is such a great value for what it is. Then took that forward for a year, they change it. So then I found a different radio, they change it. So now I found a different radio, they discontinue it. And they just keep getting you. So now my solution is, I've been working on this for a while, launching my own double DIN with CarPlay Android Auto. Now I'm not an engineer in the sense that I'm building these radios myself. There are factories in China that will make a radio and then they'll sell it to different people and they'll let you put your logo on it. I found one of those manufacturers. They are taking a radio they already sell. They're customizing a version of Windows CE, which then runs in the background so that in the foreground you just see like a very simple interface. Have CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, AM, FM radio. Real simple radio with resistive steering wheel controls built in. It's going to be very similar to an AOTO radio, if any of you are familiar with those on Amazon. They're really good sellers on Amazon. It's kind of like the same base. It's very similar, different enough where I won't have an issue with them, and I don't want to be compared to them. I don't want to have the issues that they have. And I'm going to test the crap out of it before we begin selling it, but that's in the works because I'm tired of this happening where we're carrying a radio, it's doing a good job for us, discontinued, or they change it and don't even tell us without changing it. So also another little thing, the Alpine ILX W670 and Sony radios have resistive steering wheel control mechanisms inside of it. So if you install a Sony radio and you wire it correctly, you can go into the settings and you can program the steering wheel controls manually. That's on most Sony radios. They still have kept that feature. It's pretty good. It's just Sony radios tend to be pretty expensive unless you get like the Walmart one. Then you can kind of put yourself together a deal. The Alpine ILX W670 is the only Alpine I've seen that has the steering wheel control resistive thing in it. And then lower end JVC and Kenwoods that have Android mirroring. They're usually about $150 or so. They don't have CarPlay. They just have Android mirroring. Some of those have resistive steering wheel controls built in. So if you're looking to save some money, put something together for yourself, you can pick up a DIY combo, one of those radios with resistive steering wheel controls. Just wire it together, find your little dash kit somewhere, and you have like a really good, cheap deal on stuff. Because these radios keep changing, it just keeps getting very annoying. All different companies do that. Now let me get to your question. Sorry guys, I just had to go on that rant because it was annoying. I got the module for steering wheel controls with the harness, but I couldn't get it to work for my taste. I couldn't get any lights in the box or anything. Oh, Andrew, that's very common for people to experience that. The reality is when you first turn the key, the box will flash green really fast. It'll flash once and go out. So you're thinking it never turned on, it's not working. But that's just the functionality of it. If it didn't program correctly to your radio, it would then, when you turn the key, flash red and green really fast and then really slow, and it would keep flashing. So the fact that you think it's not working and the fact that you only missed that green flash means it did program. You might have it plugged into the wrong port on the back of the radio, which I doubt. Or maybe it just didn't program to a Pioneer radio. So what you have to do is you have to do a soft reset or a reset of the AXWC, and that's where you are going to take a pin or something, stick it into the hole. You'll feel a little reset button. Hold the reset button for 3 seconds with the car on. I should have said that at the beginning. The engine doesn't need to be running, but the key does need to be on. Press the little button, hold it. It's down in the little hole, and then the AXWC will begin flashing red and green really fast. When it's flashing red and green really fast, hold volume up on your steering wheel You're going to hold volume up on the steering wheel for like 10 seconds total. But as you're holding it, keep looking at the black box. You're going to see it's going to flash green. It's going to flash green. It's going to flash green a bunch of times. Then it's going to flash red a bunch of times. Eventually, it's going to go solid red or solid green. When it goes solid, you can let go. You can then turn the key off, back on, and now test your steering wheel controls. They should work. It's just a matter of a simple reset. There's a video on YouTube. You can Google how to reset AXWC, and Metro has a video on how to do it. I can send you the link if you want it, but it's a quick Google search away. But your Pioneer steering wheel control should just work with no issue. Want to buy the complete kit for my 2010, but the dollar is very high against the Mexican pesos. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Carlos. I don't know how to help you with that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Will they resign my current screen location, or will they resign the bomb? Oh, you're talking about the 9? Are you talking about the 9-inch screen? Sorry, Franklin, I'm not sure which one you were talking about. Fransky. I can't even see because I'm freaking blind. So that is from AliExpress. What we're gonna change or sell ourselves is a variation of the screen that's just fine-tuned for your Acura, and a lot of the bloatware removed, and a lot of the settings centralized, so that you can change things on the fly, and we'll have like an actual user manual to give you on how to use this thing. But the actual template and the electronics that are coming from AliExpress, we're going to use the same ones. I do want to develop my own like software interpretation mechanism, like they have those CAN bus boxes, but that's like way above my head. I would need to. I've worked with an electrical engineer in the past for the ELS amplifier interface, so I have some understanding now, but I would need to work hands-on with an engineer to know how to properly build that. I think the software I could figure out, but to make sure that all the connections on the CAN bus are proper and all the termination resistors, all that stuff, I'd want to work with an electrical engineer. So that's like very far off, but this is like I'm actively working on this, on putting the manual together, and with the manufacturer that we chose, I need the manual's also going to serve as their guide, because they need to customize this thing, and I can't tell them, oh, take out the bloatware and centralize the settings. They're going to be like, what does that mean? So I have to create actual Photoshop images, or I'm doing it inside of Google Sheets, where I'm just putting together images of what I want the menus to look like, what I want the interfaces to look like, and commenting the things that I want to change about the 9-inch screens. But the actual hardware, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage. The connections on this are going to look extremely similar to this. So that's in progress. It is going to take some time, but it's mostly a feature and software tweak to this. It's not like I'm going into manufacturing my own set of screens and electronics and ABS molds and stuff. That would be a huge project to take on. No, Frank. If you want it, buy it now, because you can put in our 9-inch screen later on when it's available, and you can roll with theirs for now. And you're gonna use the same frame. You might either end up using the same harnesses or just modifying them a little bit. So if you're thinking about it, I don't think you should hold off, because it's a good. If that's what you're looking for, I think it's a good choice. I like that over the Tesla screen. But obviously it's up to you. But alright, so my rant is over about the steering wheel controls for radios, but I just think it's so silly that I understand on CAN bus controlled vehicles. So you have a Ford, you have a American product, or some Hondas have CAN bus controlled steering wheel controls. But all of your Acuras, I want to say your mainstream Acuras, are all resistive based. So it's just silly to pay for the AXWC when you really don't need it for your car. It's the radio that needs it, because the radio won't support resistive steering wheel controls. And you know what's crazy? That's like an America thing. So if you buy a radio overseas, like a Pioneer radio overseas, the SWC steering wheel controls are available. Like there are manuals that show it. Let me see if I can find one for you real quick. Pioneer resistive steering wheel controls. I'm not getting good results because it knows I'm in America. I don't think if I add UK it'll do anything. Yeah, it's not
Hey guys, how's it going? James here from carplay. Diagrams are preloaded into it, so you can the vehicle is with wires hooking vehicle. So as you can see, can is going to have greater resistance on them than what. And once you click the main button, menu, and then you go into system. So you rotate it, go into system, rotate all the way into C. Oops, there it is. S remote. Click, and then it will be on off to begin with. You rotate that. Don't click Pioneer, you click Preset. And then it's got a whole bunch of cars in here. So you've got Daihatsu, Honda, Hyundai.
Okay, so look, I'm going to show you this. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to show you something that was dumb. So look. So this guy has a Pioneer. This channel is very good. And has a Honda. He wired the correct wires for his Honda. And now in his Pioneer radio, it's a single DIN. But in the UK, it has resistive steering wheel controls capabilities. So he can go into the settings and set it up. So
S remote. Click, and then it will be on off to begin with. Rotate that. Don't click Pioneer, you click Preset. And then it's got a whole bunch of cars in here. So you've got Daihatsu, Honda, Hyundai, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Nissan 1, Nissan 2, because there are a couple of different, types out there. Subaru 1, Subaru 2, Subaru 3, and then you've got Suzuki and Toyota and back to Daihatsu. So obviously we're in Suzuki, so we're going to click on Suzuki.
Oh, sorry, he has a Suzuki, not a Honda.
Plus for 1 second. So we'll do that.
So I'm not going to watch the whole video if you want to watch it, but basically it's an American thing because the American companies have come together and decided to sell you extra parts, ultimately, is what it comes down to. So it is what it is. It makes things a lot easier to install, so I'm not even going to complain, especially in CAN bus cars. It's like super convenient, but know that there are other countries where the products that we have do accept steering wheel controls. But let me stop rambling about that. Let me get started with this harness. So something I did off camera, or I don't know if you guys saw me, was I took out the steering wheel control wires that aren't needed for the AXWC. So I got rid of those. Well, I got rid of the steering wheel control wires I'm not going to use. Then on his harness, because this is a customer supplied harness, so this is the harness that came with his radio. I'm not going to unpin these because he's going to keep this radio for however long. He might use it in other cars. So normally when you buy the plug and play harness, you have this harness at home. We're sending you a second one, so it doesn't matter if ours is missing the speaker wires, because you could just take your original one and use it to install it in another car. Because this is his original one, I'm not going to remove these wires. I'm just going to apply heat shrink so that they get out of, and they stay out of the way, excuse me, and they stay together. You get sleepy, they're already pre-cut, so I'm just gonna cut them down a little further because it just takes for 2 of them to touch, just wobble loose and touch. This is what I mean. Look, let me go to the desk. So like they're already pre-cut, so just from a little bit of movement, this can separate. Like I don't know if you can see that, but like I'm not applying any tool. I don't have like a sharp nail, but watch. So now the wire is exposed, and this one's like on tighter. There are other ones that will be on looser. Like this looks like it's on looser, so it's just, see? So that was a lot of force. Let me just, this one's on good. But basically, just from a little movement, these can come loose and then start touching each other. And if they touch each other, they're going to short, and then the radio's not going to work. So I'm just going to cut them down and then just add a little bit of heat shrink to keep them out of the way. Normally, I would remove these like you saw earlier, but this is because this is his original harness. If he ever installs this radio in a different car, he will probably need these wires. Alright, but the wires we're dealing with are right here, and it's pretty straightforward on this car. The only thing is you do have blue-white here, which is your amp turn on, but I don't normally use it. So I do take my brake detect and I take my black wire. This used to be steering wheel control ground. They removed key 1 and key 2, but they didn't remove steering wheel control ground, and didn't it just took the label off, but it's still steering wheel control ground, so we can just twist these together. This is for the parking brake. I'm grounding the parking brake. I'm not going to hook up blue white. I'm going to treat this harness like I don't have it. I'm going to hook up everything here to make it all work. Alright, so let's start over here. Window. Blue. Okay. Just going to cut this down to size. It only showing shipping to Canada, US, Puerto Rico, but well, no, I'll buy it. Believe me. Good night, brother. Thanks. All right, man. Have a good night. We do sell on eBay. I'll get that Mexico stuff reviewed, the Mexico shipping reviewed. I swore, again, we were having some issues with addresses, so like they wouldn't verify and let you go through. I don't know how to explain it to you. Like it's like a technical thing that we were trying to implement, like address validation, and it was giving us trouble with having having overseas shipping on. So we turned off all the ones that was giving us issues with. They might have just turned off Mexico for a precaution because it hasn't been fixed, and we don't do a ton of overseas shipping. So it was like something where like we'll just leave it off till we fix it, because we want that address validation. Alright, YouTube. This is going to be the last harness I do tonight. Let me go to just me. Just because it's late. It's past 2. If I stay up to like... Alright, so I finish streaming. I then have to like wind down. You know, you can't just go to bed and fall asleep. So then I'll fall asleep around 3. But tomorrow I need to get up. I need to get up around like 7 or 8. Probably 8. Because getting up at 7 sucks. I don't know. It's like in the middle of my sleep cycle. I don't know what it is. But getting up at 7 is hard. But 8 is not that hard. So get up at 8. Work from 8 to like 11:30. And then I have to go to the post office and drop off all this stuff. And then I can come back and keep working. But when I come back, I'm not going to be doing shipping. I'm going to be working on some videos. I need to film some footage and do some research. So I'm going to be working on that tomorrow. But if I don't wake up early enough, I'm going to miss the post office, so I don't want to go to sleep too late, because then my lazy ass won't get up on time. I'll obviously get up and get to work, but like, I don't want to get up at 9:30 or 10 and then work for an hour and then have to go to the post office because I'll get nothing done. I'll get like 2 orders done. Right now I'm good with orders though. Right now we're caught up. I don't think there's an order over 36 hours old. Usually my threshold I try to keep is 48 hours, so I don't try to keep an order over 48 hours unless this is a special order item. And then like the 9-inch screen for the TSX, that's a special order item, so those will keep up to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some people wait a month for those when they first came out. But like any harness, radio, etc., amp, we try to ship within 2 days. So right now I'm doing good. Yeah, man. Gotta keep grinding. Today, I didn't start early today though, so today wasn't that bad. But the other day I did start at 7 and then had to work. Well, I always take a break in the middle of the day. So like, picture like 7 to like 4:30, then come back, then like 5 to 7 family house stuff, 7 to 8 walk the dogs, dinner. So then I'll be back. Let's call it 9:30, 10. So then 10 to 2 is then the rest of the day or the second shift, and then I'll go to sleep and then start all over. But I think today I got up around like 10. Well, I always have to get up at 8 to feed the dogs, check stuff, emails and stuff. But sometimes I'll just be shot, so I'll just go back to sleep for like an hour. But that's usually how it goes. But yeah, I like working at night. I feel like I just have more energy at night. It's just like once you go to sleep, you feel like trash in the morning, like when you first wake up. Okay, I need sleeves. Do I have? No, I need short ones too. Of course, man. I try my best, man. I really do. I do have. There's been times though where like we've fallen short. Like the website. Well, not even the website. That's on me. Like I'll. There are certain products that are based on the same main product. So like, for example, that's what happens with subwoofers. Subwoofers, we might have 20 subwoofers in stock, but it'll show like 5 for a Honda Civic, 5 for a Honda Accord, 10 for an Acura TL. But then they'll oversell. So we'll end up selling all 20, but then end up selling 23. So now we're short 3 subs, but we don't know that till we're doing the shipping. So like by the time we're doing the shipping, then maybe 2 other ones have sold. And now you're -5 subs with people who think they're going to ship tomorrow, and you don't have them ready to ship, and then you have to wait 3 days to get them, so it delays their order 3 days. But usually we try to stick in the delivery window, and we can usually get it. But sometimes that does happen, and it's just a matter of inventory management. But it's hard to do because they're based on the same thing. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, all that changes are the brackets and the harnesses, so they need to be different SKUs online so that we know what you're ordering. But like in fulfillment, it still uses all the same subs, so it's sometimes tricky to keep inventory correctly of those. But most of, like, any stuff that just needs to go in a bag and get shipped, I'll usually do it same day. It won't even go 2 days. So yeah, normally you don't need the AXWC, and this right here will have a key 1 wire, and you could just hook that up and then program the steering wheel controls inside the radio and you're all set. Easy peasy. You know what? I don't want this guy to have an issue, so I'm gonna do blue, white to the reds, because sometimes the way the power antenna wire is supposed to work is that it's only supposed to have power when you have AM or FM. Alpine's really the only manufacturer I've seen stick to that. Everyone else just leaves it on always. But in case this radio internally they made that change, I don't want to have this guy call me and be like, hey, I only have audio when I put AM or FM radio. So by jumping that blue wire to the red, the amplifier, the factory amplifier, will turn on right when he turns the key, and it'll turn off when he turns off the car. So the only thing with that is it can introduce a little bit of noise because the amp will turn on before the radio, but that's a better thing to deal with than having sound only with AM or FM. And then the reason why I'm not using this wire is because sometimes this blue wire doesn't turn on, and then sometimes it turns on with a menu option, and then customers don't know to do that, so they don't know that they have to go into the settings to turn this wire on. And if you're installing at night or on a Sunday, you're not going to get help that day. You're not going to get help till the next day, or maybe because it didn't work, you're just going to pull it out and get upset and be like, wow, I can't believe that didn't work. I'm not going to leave this in my car. So in order to avoid those, I stopped using that wire altogether, and that's why I'd rather just jump to the red right now, because I know that will work. And if they just have a little bit of hiss, a little bit of noise in the beginning, they can deal with it, or we can fix it by telling them to swap the wire. But that's a better scenario. I have a little bit of hiss compared to I have no sound, or I only have sound on AM and FM. And those are just things that I've learned from just dealing with customers and like having to troubleshoot over the phone and helping them solve issues. Just things you learn along the way. Pretty cool. The people who always get me though, that like I really don't understand, is the people who like have a million questions about stuff they haven't done yet. So I guess like they must not like the unknown, or since they're not familiar enough, they rather have all their questions answered before like digging in. But like they'll be like, they'll get their harness right, and they'll be like, oh, well, what do this rear camera with these wires right here, what are they for? Where do I connect them to? And then you'd be like, oh, well, you don't have to connect them, don't worry about them. No, okay, I understand I don't have to connect them, but what are they for? And then you explain, you're like, oh, and then they don't really understand, so then they have more questions, and then you get into like these fake scenarios that aren't going to happen, but that they want answers to. And I don't know what that is, how that happens. Like, for example, I had a guy reach out about a camera. He was like, hey, how come my OEM cam has more wires than the camera you sent me? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And he was like the OEM camera has way more wiring than the wires that are in your camera. And I was like, oh, is there something wrong that like it's not working? Is that why you're like bringing this up? And he's like, no, I'm just curious as to why it doesn't have the same amount of wires. So then I had to explain to him why it didn't. But like the explanation didn't make sense to him, because he doesn't really know about wiring, but he still wanted the explanation. But I'm just like, why? You didn't even install it yet. It hasn't not worked. So why does it matter if it has less wires or more wires? I understand if he was like, yo, like this isn't working. Why does it have more wires? Is that what's wrong? But he didn't even install it yet. He was just looking at it. But I guess, I don't know, curiosity. I think it's not knowing. So you want to make sure you answer all the questions that you have for yourself before attempting, so that you don't have an issue when installing. I think is what it comes down to. Like no, because if I ask now, then when I go to install, I'll know everything and I won't run into any issues. I think that's what it comes down to. And I don't mind answering those questions. I just think it's funny that that's like people's thing. Because every so often you get a customer like that. Come on. Come on. Bruh, stupid ass heat shrink. Yeah, my boy is tight. Okay. Alright, so now let's heat this heat shrink up. YouTube, so all those wires are shrunk. Sorry, don't come and don't come for me. They're all shrunken, because they have shrank. English is so funny. Okay, alright, so that's all connected, that's all connected. Those are gonna stay out. These I am gonna leave in. Where's my let's go tape? Damn, bro, it's 2:30 there. Can't say I ain't do it. Rattle. So now you're gonna get to see why I remove speaker wires, because this thing's gonna be crazy bulky at one end and not the other, which is kind of funny sometimes. Alright, so we got our tapes here. Got hot in here. I don't know if I just got hot. Definitely got hotter. Hot in here. Throw you off any accuracy. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. If you have a question, feel free. If you want to say what's up, man. I'm about to hop off. I will just finish this harness real quick. I do not like. Alright, look what happened to me. Chat, which I freaking hate so much. I'm gonna have to fix this tomorrow. You see this red wire? Look, you see this red wire, right? Look at the rest of the wires. Look at yellow, look at orange, look at blue. If I twist this like this, they all look fine, right? They all look like they have some slack. But if I straighten this, do you see how tight red is compared to the other wires? Like gray has nice slack, but red is really, really tight. I do not like that, because when you plug this in and it gets pulled, that red has way too much tension. So we need to ease that tension. I'm gonna see if I could just kind of pull it a little bit, but sometimes that doesn't do enough. I do need to actually remove the entire tape. I hate when this happens. It happens every so often. It'll just be a little too tight, and that's a little tighter than I'd like to settle for, because it can cause a problem, and I don't want this guy to have a problem when he goes to use it. Yeah, no, it's still tight. The whole tape is, come on, damn. That's so annoying. Because that red wire is also super important, so if it gets yanked, his radio won't turn on. And you only get one shot. Like, if it doesn't work right away, people get upset. They paid money for a solution that's supposed to be plug and play, and if it doesn't work right away, some people will give you a shot. Some people will call you and they'll be like, hey, like, I bought this from you and it's not working. And they'll be upset, but they'll work with you to resolve their issue, and then in the end you solve their issue, they're happy. But there are other people who like, nah, this was supposed to work, it's not working, what's up? Or, well, the most common one is it won't work, they'll be unhappy, but they'll call you. But they're calling you at night or on a weekend when we're not open. So now it didn't work, something happened, you're not available, they're upset, they're gonna go online and complain. So you get that one shot. So that's like make or break right there. That's like if that red wire gets yanked, then that radio's not turning on. That person's gonna be upset. I wonder when it got too tight, because all the way up here is tight too. Oh, I think I see why it got tight, because it like wrapped around up here. And they keep it straight. Yeah, exactly. They plug it in, they push the radio back, the harness gets caught on something silly, and then that red wire gets pulled out, and they're not gonna say it was them. They're gonna be like, it was the harness. Something happened with the harness. And now, rather fix it now than later. Man, did I really cut it too short? Or was it short from the factory? No, it's raveled up, so that's not helping. Let me unpin it and see if that helps. I might have to cut it and like add what do you call it? Add slack to it. Because it might just be too short. I might have stripped too much and soldered too close. Come on, you will come out there. Right now, I'm just gonna unpin it and just follow it. Okay. In there, yeah, it's in there. Let's hold this straight out. Yeah, no, it is tight, but I think as long as we are good with our tape, we should be alright. Like, it's not crazy tighter than the rest of the wires. Okay, alright, let's add some tape here first, because that's where we don't want it to yank off of. Every so often, man, this happens. It's rare. It's rare. And, like, you have to pay attention. That's the thing, like, you, yeah, agreed. They don't understand, man. And that's the thing, like, an employee won't get. Like, unless you've trained them to the T, they're not gonna understand or care enough. Unless it's like a superstar employee and they're out there. Like I used to work with one of my friends, and like he was lazy, but he like we both kind of probably are on the spectrum. So he would see this, and I know in my gut he would fix it, because he'd be like, nah, that's gonna mess somebody up. Like, don't get me wrong, like he was lazy sometimes, but when it came to caring, he did care. But I could see other employees like, that's good enough, nothing's gonna happen, and then something does happen. But yeah, this is because I care. Because it could be nothing would have happened, honestly. It could have been that. Okay. I never kicked it. He was never in here. What the hell? Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so now... yeah, we got a little bit of slack right there, which is more than good enough. And then we just got a little bit of tape here. Why are you waking your mama up, bro? Getting me in trouble. Why aren't you asleep? You need to go to sleep. They probably kicked him out the other room because he's being annoying. So my oldest dog His name's Blackie. He's 3 years old. He's not even that old. He likes to sleep with people, so he likes to sleep in people's, like, on your bed. And we have family visiting, so he was probably sleeping with them, but they probably got, like, annoyed. Because he'd be taking up the whole bed, bro. Like, he a big-ass dog taking up the whole bed. So he probably took up the bed, and then they kicked his ass out. And then he tried to come in here, or come in the room, and he was scratching the room door. And probably woke up my wife. Why you gotta do me like that, Black? Now she gonna be upset. Alright guys, so I fixed the slack issue. So like here is not as tight anymore. It can move. It's not the tightest wire in the harness is gonna pull out. They're all equally as tight. And then here as well, it's tight here, don't get me wrong, but they're all equally as tight. Like the blue, you could see, like the black and the yellow have a little bit more slack, but the blue, orange, and red all have the same amount of slack. So as long as wires share the same slack, even if they are tight, they're less likely for, it's like when it's only one wire, it's when it could possibly get pulled out. The chance of you pulling all three out, not impossible, but super rare. So now I can tape it. Did my wife call me? No, she didn't. Okay. So yeah, it's just Blackie will caress up there. You dumb dogs. But he probably got kicked out. Alright, so now we're adding the tape again. And this is silly because it's like super thick here and then it's gonna die down, but that's because, remember, we're leaving those speaker wires in, and that's because he may have to reuse this harness in the future for a different car. So you want to make sure that he has that ability. So now the wires are good. I just need to hook this up to right here. This is for the steering wheel controls. So this has SWC. This is the steering wheel control adapter plugged in. Now we're just gonna kill some of the slack with these zip ties. And then this guy sent 2 harnesses, so I have to do one for a TSX, but I'll do that one tomorrow morning. I'm not gonna do it now. It's way too late. I need 2. My wife's probably not gonna fall back asleep till I get to bed, so I need to get to bed. Alright, and then just 2 zip ties right here. But alright guys, I'm gonna call it a night. I appreciate you. Let me go. Let me give my farewells over here. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna call it a night. This harness is done. I hope that if you had an MDX question, the first part of this stream answered it, because I tried to cover as much as I could. I know I talked a lot. I tried to show you what I could on video. If you have more questions, again, I stream every Sunday night, so you can come back on Sunday. I do have stuff to show, so if you have a specific question, maybe I can help you through it. But for tonight, this is going to be it, so have a good night. What can I keep and what has to go? I have an 07 with the top speed. Yeah, you missed out, my friend. It was earlier. You can go back. You can start the stream from the beginning, and I cover everything. If you, yeah, just go back, watch the beginning of the stream. I'll answer all your MDX questions. And then if not, I'll see you on Sunday. Or you can leave a comment on one of the MDX videos. It's up to you. But have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys Sunday night. Have a good night.